All right, guys, let's do some fantasy check-ins, trade deadline stuff, and how fortuitous that I just happened to be in alpha. And I go through these in alphabetical order, and the first team off the rank today is the New Orleans Pelicans. Absolutely fantastic timing there, because of course the news is that Anthony Davis has told the Pelicans he won't be re-signing with them, won't be signing that extension, and has requested a trade from this team. So that of course means everybody is going to the trade machine, which I absolutely despise. I hate the trade machine. I hate looking at it. I hate the absolute nonsense trades that get bandied about and thrown all across social media all the time. Hate it. But we're here to talk about what could happen in an Anthony Davis trade. Let's get one thing off the board here. He can't be traded to Boston. Like he can't be. It's literally impossible for him to go to the Celtics. You can talk about their assets all they want, but while Kyrie Irving is on his current contract, Anthony Davis cannot be a member of the Boston Celtics because you can't have two guys signed to those Rose Rule rookie extensions on the same team. And both Davis and Irving are on those contracts. Now, next season, when Kyrie presumably re-signs, although Windhorst throwing it out there that Kyrie might be looking at going to the Lakers with AD, which would be really something. If Kyrie does remain in Boston, signs his new contract, then Davis is free to get traded there, no problem whatsoever. But for this season, he cannot go there. Do I think Anthony Davis is traded by this trade deadline? No, I don't. I think that they will look to do that in the off-season. They'll see where draft picks fall. They'll see what sort of assets they can get. I don't think that Davis will go. Now, it seems pretty clear that he does want to go to the Lakers, but he doesn't necessarily have that choice. But it also might reduce the willingness of teams to deal if they're only going to get one season out of Davis. But it also might mean that teams do up their offer at the trade deadline for a playoff push, plus one whole season. You might be able to get some good deals where the Pelicans go, well, you know what, we might just have to take this deal because you're not just getting half a season of Davis, you're getting 1.5 seasons of him, push for two playoff series out of him. That might be enough to give up a decent package, remembering again, Boston cannot do that this season. So there are some significant situations here. Now, in terms of if Davis is moved off the Pelicans, what happens? I've got absolutely no idea because the package coming back has to include players and draft picks. So you would think someone comes back with some level of upside that's going to slot in there. Now, the way Jahlil Okafor is playing at the moment, he's got some value and he is a must roster guy for now. And holding him through the trade deadline makes a lot of sense because they might trade Davis for picks and guards, and then you have Okafor and Randall as the starting front court with Mirotic coming off the bench, and he has value. So holding on to someone like Jahlil Okafor for the next 2 weeks, even if Davis comes back, is probably worth it given this recent news. Even though, again, I put the likelihood of Davis being traded at less than 50%. Where does Anthony Davis go? Well, I can't really speculate on that, but wherever he goes, pretty much every situation, unless it was the Golden State Warriors, which seems pretty impossible, his numbers are going to be fairly similar. He's going to do what he does. He's going to get his steals, his blocks. He's going to rebound the ball. His efficiency is going to be fine. He may take a hit in usage, but on what team is he coming and being a third banana on that team? He's maintaining a high usage with guys like Randall, who's high usage, Drew Holiday's high usage. Of course, he's better than those guys. Even if he went to the Lakers and played with LeBron, it would be him and LeBron getting all the usage. It wouldn't be Brandon Ingram, or it shouldn't be if Luke Walton knows what he's doing. Davis comes in, and he is the man wherever he goes. Like it's as simple as that. So I think his numbers stay relatively the same no matter where he ends up in that scenario. Now, a lot of people asking this question, is Davis going to be shut down for the season now, Josh? The Pelicans won't want to risk injuring their trade asset. Davis won't want to risk getting injured if he goes to another team. And I honestly, I can't see this happening. Often teams will sit a guy down for 2 days, 3 days once a trade is getting figured out. That's fine. But Anthony Davis's contract runs for the rest of this season and all of next season. So are we just saying he's not going to play for the next 1.5 years? Or for the next 3 months of this season? The Pelicans are going nowhere. They're going to tank. They're going to shut him down. The NBA will absolutely lose its mind if that happens. The Pelicans will get fined a lot of money. They will lose draft picks as well. If they end up just saying, we are not playing Anthony Davis for 3 months because we want to preserve him until he can get traded in July, they will get fined. I do not, look, anything is a possibility. Dumb stuff happens all the time. The Bulls got warning letters last season for resting Justin Holiday. Imagine how the NBA is going to feel about Anthony Davis just sitting out for the rest of the season so he can get traded in the offseason. They will not let it stand. I don't think they will let it stand. Davis has reiterated to Gentry that he will play out the season. He's dealing with his finger issue. He could be back this week, maybe next week. Sure, an injury could pop up at any time for Davis, and that may mean the end of the season for him. That could happen, right? But it's not going to be we are shutting him down and he is just not playing the rest of the season. There would be so much investigation by the NBA on a scenario like that, on a small market team with one of the biggest stars in the league. They just, I don't see them letting it happen. And you can conspiracy theory me as much as you want. And when I'm wrong, come at me and tell me about it, because I'm sure you will. I just do not see Anthony Davis healthy, just not playing again. I just don't see it happening. We'll see. Anyway, any other guys on this team that are tradable? I'm sure they'd love to get themselves off Solomon Hill's contract. Each-one more, perhaps at $8 million, could, if they are looking to just blow things up. He at almost $9 million is an asset that the contending teams could really use. A nice bench piece, maybe he could move there. But yeah, the big news here, of course, is Anthony Davis, and the one thing I'd be looking at is having Jahlil Okafor and holding him through this trade deadline to see where it all goes for the New Orleans Pelicans. All right, fantasy check-in time for the New York Knicks. When we look at the trade deadline, there's a lot of candidates here, of course. Enes Kanter, Tim Hardaway, Courtney Lee, all guys that they'd be looking to get rid of. If possible, does it open up value for guys? Well, Courtney Lee's not playing at all, so there's no impact there. Enes Kanter also not playing at all. Tim Hardaway would be the big interesting one, and the guy you'd want to look at there is Alonzo Trier. You get a bit of a boost for minutes for Mario Hezonja, and probably Damian Dotson as well would get value. So Trier's a guy I think that is a 12-team league at the moment. I think that no matter where Hardaway goes, his value is going to dip significantly. So if you can get any sort of top 100, top 80 sort of a player back for Hardaway, which is going to be a big stretch, but if you could do that, I would absolutely look at it. But I also wonder which team is going to be parting with anything to get $35 million worth of Tim Hardaway onto their team. That seems like a stretch. Also with Kanter, stashing him through the trade deadline makes sense. But as I've constantly reiterated, what team is affording his $18.5 million contract that then wants to play him 25 minutes a night? That is the big concern with Kanter. Who is paying that money for him? And then who is playing him those minutes? Yeah, that's the worry I have with Kanter, where we can say, all it needs is minutes, and I know that's true. Everyone knows that's true, but who's giving it to him? Like Sacramento, the name that's been brought up a lot for Kanter. Does he come in and start over Willie Cauley-Stein? Probably not. Does he come and play those 16, 17 Harry Giles minutes? Maybe. Does he come in and impact the development of Marvin Bagley? Well, Dave Yeager's the coach, so probably. But is he getting 25 a night? I find that unrealistic. That means you're playing Cauley-Stein 23 minutes a night. I don't see that being the case. And that's why I do question his long-term value in terms of fantasy numbers. As I said, if Courtney Lee goes, doesn't matter. If Kanter goes, it doesn't matter. They're not actually playing at the moment for the Knicks. So what we've got at the moment is Cornette and Robinson as those interesting 12-team league guys who have already replaced Kanter. Cornette will do that when he comes back. And then the Hardaway scenario will likely be Hezonja, Trier, and Dotson taking up that role, with Trier getting a decent enough run. But of course, we've also got the old data man himself in charge there, who's consistently just jerking minutes around every single game, making it really hard to get any sort of consistent form from the players or consistency in trying to work out what they are going to do. All right, guys, let's do a fantasy check-in now on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Looking at the trade deadline, I really don't... Look, Sam Presti in the past has been pretty active at the trade deadline. I'm not really sure I see any massive candidates to be moved here. You've got Dennis Schroeder, but there's a lot of money on that contract, and he's not that good. I don't see really any teams being interested there. Plus, he's fulfilling a role as Russell Westbrook's backup and playing alongside him. Patrick Patterson, but they have a real dearth of bigs. The only backup center they've got is Nerlens Noel, so I don't see him going anywhere. Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot, I don't imagine his market is all that big, and he's not going to be an impact guy anywhere. I really don't see this Thunder team making any moves. George Westbrook, Adams Grant, like those guys are all locked in. Terrence Ferguson, he's providing some really strong value at the moment. If anyone was to be dealt on this team, it would be really low end. I could see someone like Alex Abrines maybe, who's been dealing with some personal issues, and that's kept him out for a significant amount of time. He could be an interesting guy who can help other teams if they're determined to go with Abdul Nadir and Terence Ferguson and Dennis Schroeder over him. Maybe they could get something back for Abrines and he becomes somewhat of a deep league, poor man's Marco Bellinelli 3-point streaming option who has really struggled in the NBA. I thought he'd be significantly better than what he has been so far. The Andre Robertson scenario is frustrating. It doesn't appear like we're going to get him back anytime soon for this team, but they're just going along nicely. I don't really see any trades in the works for this team or any trades that are going to make any sort of real fantasy impact at all, whether it's guys coming in or positions being opened up or guys going out. I don't really see any sort of shake up on this Thunder team coming for the rest of the season. But I just want to mention one thing. Jeremy Grant has been fantastic this season, taking a huge step forward, and he is a must-roster top 100 guy for the rest of the season. Yeah, still available in 24% of Yahoo leagues, so even in 10-team leagues, I think you need to be looking at Grant. He's blocking shots, he's scoring at a better level, his efficiency is really, really improved, he's hitting threes at a better rate as well. This is a guy that struggled to get to 30% from three for many, many seasons, and really stepped it up this year, taking that big step forward. You killed Patrick Patterson, obviously, who was potentially a chance to start at power forward or to split minutes, and he has ground him into dust, and we're just not seeing anything. Patterson's career has just been disgraceful over the last couple of seasons. What a downturn, and it just shows how much having those bung knees, which Patterson has really, really just killed his ability to be an effective NBA player. Nerlens Noel, if I had to give one guy that potentially could move, maybe it is Nerlens Noel. We know that give him 25 minutes a night, like I just talked about with Kanter, then he does come and be a real fantasy option. Now, he's only getting the scrap minutes behind Steven Adams, who's a 34, 35 minute a night guy, meaning you got 13, 14 minutes of Noel. And that's probably not enough in most circumstances. But if someone is in desperate need for a cheap backup center, making the minimum, then Noel is interesting. But of course, that leaves the Thunder with no backup center, so they'd want to get something back in return. And then what are you doing? Trading a backup center for another backup center? And Noel is one of the best backup centers in the NBA. So probably not. He is the best, maybe achievable asset on this team if other teams are going to be looking at someone from the Thunder, but I don't really see that being a situation that does manifest itself. So that is a bit of a fantasy check-in for trade deadline coming up for the Oklahoma City Thunder.